So today on Capstone's Talent Talk podcast, we are joined by Alex Iveson, who's a senior business development professional with a career rooted in client strategy, relationship management, and the data center industry, as well as other sectors prior to that. So Alex has built her experience across organisations such as JLL and has played a pivotal role in leading bids and commercial pursuits across the EMEA region. Alex is now works within a data center design and build business that looks to cut costs and construction speeds up the construction process, amongst other benefits, and Alex can talk to us all about that. But beyond her day job, Alex is a passionate advocate for inclusion and progression within our industry, and she's the co-founder of both the Forum for Women in Data Centers and the LEAP Initiative, two platforms that are focused on driving meaningful change and creating a space for underrepresented voices in the sector. Alex, welcome. Thank you for joining Ollie and I.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
No problem. So let's start talking about your career. What's got you to the point of success that you're in now? Not all careers are linear, and I've personally heard yours previously, and I absolutely love it, which is why I've asked you to be a guest with us today. But talk to us about your career.
It's definitely not been linear. So I started off. I just a bit of background. I grew up in South East London, worked from a very young age. I've always had a job, not in a corporate sense, but I've always worked. And I dropped out of university in my first year when I was 19. I was pregnant with my daughter. So I didn't get a kind of formal education as such. When she was about 4 months old, I went and started temping in an admin role for a company called Cerner, who are a software company that specialise in healthcare software. So from there, I kind of worked my way up within Cerner for a few years, and then moved on to work in some more healthcare software companies, eventually landing in legal and e-discovery software, where I spent quite a few years building my career, specialising in bid development mainly, and supporting commercial opportunities and project opportunities across EMEA and the world. So yeah, I fell into data centres accidentally, as most people seem to do. I was working for JLL at the time, and I was working in the bid team, supporting real estate bids, specifically for technology for real estate. So a bit different from data centres. The data centre team needed some support on some bids and some opportunities that we had coming in. They were quite a new team at the time, so they pulled me in. I was very reluctant. Basically said, wasn't interested in data centres, didn't know what they were, didn't really want to get involved in that sector, didn't want to work on the project, wasn't given much of a choice, thankfully, in retrospect, but met a fantastic team and was able to really work on some really interesting projects, and suddenly found myself in a sector that was interesting, lots of things going on, lots of change and lots of growth, and thought I'd stick around, see where it take me. So yeah, a bit of a non-linear pathway. But I've been at Infra Partners now for 6 months. So we work on prefabricated data centres, which reduces construction costs, and also time to market, which you mentioned.
That's great. So how did you find that each role has helped you prepare for the next?
Well, that's a good question. So I think starting off in admin meant that you effectively start being the person that everybody gives other jobs to. So everyone's always asking you to do things for them. Can you book some travel? Can you do this? Can you organise these events? It gives you a really good rounding sort of intro into the different aspects of the business, because you work across all of the different sections of an organisation, particularly a big corporate company. I was an executive support assistant for a couple of years, so I worked really closely with the C-suite, which I think actually gave me some really good grounding in communication skills, because they needed a different type of communication than I was used to, and so I learned to talk to, I guess, pretty much anyone any stage in their career, which I think was really, really helpful, and has definitely supported me going forward. I think communication has been the thing for me, learning how to communicate with different people, and actually just especially over the last few years, realizing that I could bring my authentic self to work and be the person that I am outside of work, in work as well. I think that's been a really big big step for me, development wise.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? And what I'm interested in is, obviously you've been heavily involved in the bid management, and now you've moved into more of a proactive business development role. How did you find that transition?
Some of the key skills that I picked up in bid management, being able to work across teams, being able to pull in lots of stakeholders, and being able to communicate objectives have really helped me in the business development space. So I'm doing a kind of mix of account management and business development. Also still supporting some of our proposals. So Infra Partners, as a bit of background, as a startup, we're still relatively small, so there's lots of opportunities to get involved in lots of different things, which very much suits me. But yeah, I think that just building on those skills, I think being able to take technical information from people who are subject matter experts and turn it into digestible content for a reader who might not be, technical in nature, that's massively helped, particularly in this industry, because a lot of what we do is so highly technical. But to be able to take that messaging and the key points and deliver it to potential clients in a way that they understand has been a huge benefit. That's probably the key thing for me from the bid management background and how it's helped me now.
And then in terms of that kind of the bid management, the BD role that you're in now, for example, and how that corresponds to the data center industry and so on, I suppose particularly whilst you're at JLL perhaps as well, previously, do you get a good sort of insight there as to what clients in that sector kind of really value? Have you got did you sort of pick up a sense of that in terms of actually what they feel is important to them, and actually what they maybe prioritize, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, in the data center market, everybody's prioritizing land, power, and speed to market. That's just seems to be all that everybody talks about at the moment. And we're obviously going through a period of huge growth. I think it has given me a good understanding of what clients need. But more than anything, it's just that kind of background in bids has just given me that skill set to actually, again, take that technical information and present it in a way that actually meets their requirements. We talk a lot in bids about addressing pain points. So understanding what the clients, what's the issue here? They're not going out to market for a piece of software because everybody's just decided this software looks fancy. They've got a real issue that's driving that commercial spend. And it's the same with data centers, really. They're looking to build a data center, they're looking for a return on investment. And, in this sector, there's a significant amount of investment that goes into building a data center. So it's understanding what their drivers are, what their pain points are, and working out how we can address them better.
And how do you do that? What are the main pain points?
I think it depends on the client.
Land,
I think
power.
It depends on what. Yeah, I mean, land and power are pain points for everyone at the moment. I think it depends on the client and what they're looking to get out of that investment. Some people that I've spoken to, they, if you're talking to a hyperscaler, they got a different focus from somebody who's looking to invest just as a financial investor, a financial backer in a data center build. And it's driven by the market. Everybody's now using AI tools. The need for data centers and the need for critical infrastructure is only increasing every year, and is only going to increase, I think. So I think, yeah, that's a big driver, is actually just delivering the infrastructure that's needed. Because at the moment let's face it, we're pretty behind, and it's going to take some time to catch up.
I was going to say, I mean, that's in terms of where you are at the moment at Infra Partners. I mean, actually, keeping up with that imbalance between supply and demand, and that speed to market, and the fact you're working with these prefabricated, solutions, that actually I'm sure is working to address,
Yeah.
a fairly significant pain point for lots of people.
Yes, definitely. It's been interesting. Some of the clients that we're working with have always traditionally, built a traditional stick build data center, and they're seeing the value in being able to prefabricate those data centers, take a design and make it into a sort of more modular approach. And also by building in the factory, we're reducing a lot of the need for skilled labor in particular areas. A lot of data centers are built, in the middle of nowhere, wherever there's that power and land available. So there's not necessarily a skilled workforce in the area, and you do need a lot of skilled people. You guys obviously work and in supplying those resources, so you know what it's like. But it's it's that's a real challenge in general, and we can reduce that pain for our clients.
Where do you manufacture?
So we have a manufacturing facility in Romania, which covers our European clients. We just launched in Houston, in Texas, which is pretty exciting. We're hoping to go out there soon to see the new factory space. Right. That's, I think, 3 times the size of our Romanian facility. So it's a pretty significant space that we've got going over there. And we're looking at Asia in 2026, I believe.
Right.
What sort of scale in terms of the size of any given facility that you're able to create? What sort of size are we working in? The
sky's the limit. We've got some clients in the US are looking at campuses, so huge scale. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Anything from 1 megawatt really up.
Amazing. I always ask. This is one of the 2 questions that I've planned, by the way, because I always ask this. I'm a massive believer that we all have big influential moments or people in our career. Those people might not know that at the time, but often you can look back and think, my God, that person, I can see now how they really shaped my career for the good or the bad, I suppose. But I'm talking about positive. And I'm really interested to hear what's been your biggest influential moment or person in your career and how that shaped you.
Yeah, I have a couple. So the first one that comes to mind is a lady called Paula Cross. So I worked with her at Cerner when I was an administrator and I was an exec admin. I was supporting her boss, who was heading up the sales team, with admin support. And I kept asking her all the time. She wasn't in the office very often, but whenever she was, I was like, Paula, have you got anything I can do? I'm a little bit bored. Have you got anything I can do? And basically nagged her all the time until she said, look, you're clearly not getting what you need out of the job that you have. Do you want to come work for me? So she kind of took me under her wing. She organised a role to be built for me, which still allowed me to do some of the admin stuff that I'd been doing, but actually moving into bid support. And that was how I got into bids in the first place. So yeah, just constantly nagging someone to give me something to do that was a bit more interesting. So I'd definitely say Paula was a key part of my career journey. I never would have got into bid management, I don't think, if she hadn't given me an opportunity to try it out. Particularly, it was kind of on a temp basis at the start. She was going, look, if you like it, once you're in, I can train you, I can teach you everything you need to know about bids, but you've got the right attitude and I need support because I'm drowning. So it worked well for both of us. And yeah, I've obviously built a career out of bid management. That's how I started. So massively grateful to Paula for her support. And then the other I would say is Hannah Sutton, who I worked with at JLL. So Hannah and I, she was the person that I was brought in to support very reluctantly on my first data center project. And Hannah heads up the project development services for JLL across EMEA. She's just such an inspiring person to spend time with. And I think she really drove home for me that idea of being your authentic self at work. And actually, having a value that you bring to the table and making sure that you're aware of it yourself, but that you're not scared to let other people know that you recognise that as well. And that's just been really big for me. I had a lot of coming into the industry. I'm not technical. I'm not an engineer. I couldn't really see that there was a space for me within this sector, and I was worried that I was sort of diving into a sector that I was just never going to get anywhere in. So actually seeing somebody, again, she's a project manager by background, but seeing that she'd made a really successful career for herself in the industry was just really inspiring. And she's just a really nice person, which helps.
I love that. It's interesting, actually, because we recorded with Marinette Basili last week.
Yes, yeah,
and
I love her.
Yeah, we love Marinette, but she had a Paula in her life when in one of her first roles, and it was Paula that gave her some small scale procurement projects to work on, and I think we all need that, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to do that for other people as well.
And that's
so I'm trying to bring people into the industry.
Exactly. And I love that your commitment to driving that diversity piece, but proactively through action, with both obviously the Forum for Women in Data Centers and the LEAP initiative. So why don't you tell us a bit about both of those and what that looks like, feels like, the impact it's having?
Yeah, I mean, the Forum for Women in Data Centres was the brainchild of Barbara Sasha at Cundall, and she got a group of us together to co-found that. I think there's 16 of us across different companies within the data centre space, but also completely different backgrounds, different roles, and we've got a real eclectic mix of people as part of that steering group, and it's just been absolutely phenomenal. I've loved every minute of being involved in that. Yeah. It's been great for me personally to build a network, but actually just being able to give back in an actionable and meaningful way. It's just been so fantastic, and we run a lot of events. So we do, and you guys have seen that we're active on LinkedIn. We do a lot of events. So we do events in person, mainly focused around London at the moment, but there are plans to expand regionally. And so we're gonna do some more events in other countries as well, which is quite exciting. We're working with some partners in that space. But alongside the events, we're actually launching a mentorship scheme. So as you know, I'm really keen on mentoring, and I think it's a really beneficial idea both for the mentees and the mentors themselves, because I've got a lot out of mentoring people. So I'm really looking forward to that launching for the forum as well. But we just want to be I guess like a safe space to encourage and support women who are in this industry. We are a minority in the industry. This is a traditionally male-focused space, but there are lots of us now, and I think that's having that kind of space to share stories, to meet other women in the industry has just been fantastic. I'm really looking forward to what we do with it.
I always think that you're allowed, but not you personally, by the way.
As I say, I've always been told I'm a loud voice. Thanks, Sarah.
Sorry. So have I, by the way. That was literally all of my school reports. No, I mean collectively, you might be a small kind of forum, but you're kind of loud and mighty with that, and I've loved seeing how involved and committed the community around that is. So, and what are you hearing from women in data centers to be the main topics, opportunities, challenges?
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of comments about imposter syndrome. This idea that I touched on a little bit before about not really seeing where you fit within the industry, and a lot of people saying to us, actually just seeing you guys being a public forum is just it's actually really helps them to see that there's a space for them in the sector. I think that's a really, really big thing for a lot of women, and probably a lot of men as well, but I'm not sure if they're as open about feeling that imposter syndrome as women are. And I think just addressing issues that affect women. So when you get to a certain age, you get physical things like the menopause. I think actually we're looking to sort of do series and talks on that.
Don't even start me on the perimenopause. Honestly, that's a whole other podcast. Anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those topics that I think actually we just need to share a bit more. People need to be a bit more open in general. I'm pretty much an open book, but probably not always a good thing. But I think if we're open about things that are affecting us, if we talk openly and stop making subjects taboo, I think that would go a long way to helping people feel comfortable and like they can be their authentic self. If you're having a hot flush in a meeting, you need to step outside. You should be able to say that without it impacting your career or worrying about how that's going to impact how people see you. And also just saying about having those sessions for women, but actually for the men in our lives, because they're going to have to understand what is going on. I think that would be really helpful for the men around us as well.
Yes, Ollie.
There's no point taken. I've just written that down.
Ollie's just going to go and order a load of fans and things for the office now.
Yes. Absolutely. That's interesting. And what about the LEAP initiative? Are you still involved in that? And because that was with Hannah, wasn't it?
That was started with Hannah. So that's our baby. Hannah is actually on maternity leave at the moment with a real baby who's absolutely gorgeous. So we've kind of taken a step back from that at the moment. Just I want her to focus on her maternity leave, basically. From experience, I had about 4 months maternity leave with both my kids. which really isn't enough. And I wish I'd had the opportunity to kind of just stop and focus and really be at home and be present for that. So I'm really conscious of not wanting to move forward with that until she's back and in the right headspace. It is really difficult to return to work after you have a little one, especially if you do take some time off. And that's another topic that kind of impacts our careers as well, right? So yeah, I'm waiting for Hannah to get back, be in the right mindset, and then we're going to go back to working on that a bit more actively. But the whole idea behind the Leap was effectively to provide a platform where we can share resources and we can educate people without a barrier. So what we were finding when we were looking into education in the data center sector was that everything was behind a paywall. So you've had to sign up to be a member for a year, which might be £100 or £200, and you had to sign up and you get access to some resources, or you could go and do a course. But I mean, some of the courses are like £5,000-7,000. They're not small investments. When you're new to an industry and you don't know if that's the right industry for you, that kind of investment is not necessarily one that you're going to be willing to make. But also, even somebody, myself now, I'm fairly well established in the industry, but I don't have £5,000-7,000 spare to go and do a training course in something that might benefit me. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get anything out of it. It's a lot of money, and again, with young people that are starting their careers, that's an awful lot of money to spend to kind of get an official certification in the space. So I think the whole point of it was to go, right, there's all this amazing information out there. Let's put a platform in where it's free at the end user access point. So they can come on this website and they can look at the information. They can find out about different careers in the industry. They can see some video content, which particularly for the younger generation, they seem to prefer that. Bit of video content, interviewing people in the sector already, and actually just understanding what opportunities there are out there and where their skills might align with what we need as an industry. It was to bridge the talent gap, which is something that we all talk about constantly in data centers, is this lack of kind of people coming in with the right skills. And that was what the Leap was intending to address.
Yeah, it's a brilliant initiative, because I mean, we've talked about this before, but that kind of the challenges I think within the sector are just in and around education more broadly, in terms of that understanding actually, within people that might be working in, say, real estate or engineering or a related field, but equally, broader than that in the public space as well. And the fact that we do need to attract new talent into the industry, and so anything that is there to make that easier is brilliant. And it's what a great initiative. And I suppose actually sort of following on from that, in terms of talent coming into the industry, or how we can attract more, and your thoughts on that for kickoff, but also in terms of what you feel those people coming into the industry, what they really kind of need to help them succeed. I mean, yes, I suppose that could be technically, but also actually just in terms of their mindset and as a person, what would, in your experience, you sort of view as being things that they should be aiming to try and apply or bring to the table, or your thoughts really in terms of those people coming into the sector.
Yeah, I mean, there are actually some really great initiatives out there. You've got people like Gen+1, who are doing amazing things particularly focused at younger people. There are lots of kind of standalone initiatives run by different companies. So AVK have the AVK Academy, which is focused on engineering apprenticeships. There's a lot out there. I think publicising it and making it available to people is sort of a really key step forward. I think in terms of bringing things into the industry, I think the industry itself needs to address a little bit of have a bit of a cultural shift. So we have a lot of people who've been doing data centers for a long time, and they have a way of doing things, and they have a pool of people that they recruit from as standard. Problem we see is that everybody's just recruiting everybody else's workers, and they're kind of jumping around, and it's pushing up the costs of those resources as well. But that pool's getting smaller and smaller because a lot of people are retiring or moving into other mission critical areas. What we're not very good at as an industry is looking at transferable skills. So when I first came in, I said to you about not really seeing a space for me. But when I'd done my research into data centers, a lot of the job openings I was seeing were saying, 5-10 years of experience in data centers. I didn't have any experience in data centers. I was, fresh into the data centers, but I'd had a whole career and a whole, gosh, I don't even want to know how long I've been working, probably about 20 years or something, of building skills before coming into this sector that have all been really valuable for me in my role in this sector. And I think that we're missing a trick as an industry there, looking at mid-career movers, looking at, really taking a step back and going, actually, these are the transferable skills we need. We need people that can do X, Y, Z for these roles, not necessarily people that have done it before. And we need to start sort of, I guess, like waterfall training people with those people that are really experienced and have got all that knowledge and that 30 years of experience. They need people that they can start passing those skills and the knowledge information down to. And I think that would really help the industry just in general. But in terms of bringing stuff to the table, I think everybody has something valuable to bring to the table, no matter what their background and no matter what their kind of skill set. It's tapping into that interest, and it's actually going out and doing a bit of a PR exercise for data centers, because either people don't know about them, or they know about them in a really negative way. So they go, oh, they've built this, data center in my local area, and it's putting out a load of pollution, or it's really noisy, or it's using loads of resources, using loads of water, for example, and people only see it in that way. I think talking to my daughter, she's 15, talking to her friends and asking them, what do you know about data centers? They're like, nothing. They know absolutely nothing. I said, okay, so every time you watch Netflix, that's being made possible by a data center. Every time you're talking on WhatsApp or you're watching a TikTok, all of these things are linked back to what we do in the industry. And I think just
Alex,
that
was her first question, what's WhatsApp? Because they don't even WhatsApp, it's on Snapchat.
Yeah, no, so my daughter's banned from Snapchat. I'm that mum, super strict. So so she's banned from Snapchat. I'm hoping that she's not one of those kids that have secretly got it somewhere, and I'm just too lacking in technical skills to understand. But no, so she does WhatsApp, thankfully. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I said to her about Instagram, she was like, nobody uses that anymore. It's like a defunct piece of technology. I was like, oh, I use it. I like seeing people's pictures of their gardens and their dinners. So it's understanding that. And actually, it's a good point, because we need to be, I hate to say it, down with the kids, and understanding how we can approach them in a way that they're actually going to take that information and get a benefit out of it, and just really educate those young people as well.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I know that we've talked before about kind of multi-generational workplaces and how we adapt and how we learn and embrace and have these diverse teams. And I know that you've built strong relationships multi-generationally within work. What I would love to hear your view on is, have you noticed any differences in how different generations communicate, lead, collaborate, how they approach career development?
Oh, definitely. I think there's quite a lot of differences. I think we're getting better at working out how to communicate effectively across generations. But I mean, I'm a millennial, an elder millennial apparently, because there's even more difference there apparently. But something like, somebody popping me a message going, we need to talk, it just triggers like alarm bells in me. I'm like, oh God, what have I done wrong? What do we need to talk about? Panic stations. So actually just sort of feeding that back to people and being quite open and being like, actually, when you message me and you say we need to talk, this is my response to it. It triggers that response in me. Could you just let me know what the subject matter's on as part of your communication? Could you just say, hey, when you've got 5 minutes, we need to talk about X, Y, Z? That would really benefit me. But again, that relies on people being open and being able to feel empowered to say that and give that feedback, which I appreciate probably isn't always the case. But I think, there's massive differences in how we work and how we take information. But there's also a lot that we have in common. And I think that's the thing to focus on, not so much the differences, but the commonalities between the generations. At the end of the day, we're all here. We all want to work hard. We all want to, you're hopefully all working towards the same goal within your business, and you're hopefully, even as a sector, we're all feeling those same pain points. So just making sure that we're all communicating, I think, is the key thing, and trying to focus on the positive bits, the things that we do have in common, and transferring that information both ways. I've seen, my daughter sent me a video the other day of a workplace, and she was saying it was a video based around the younger people asking the people in the office, like, how do I professionally say, that's not my job, or how do I professionally say, get out of my face, basically.
They're more boundaried. I think that they've got healthier boundaries than my generation.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And they're a lot more in tune with their own needs in general. The younger generation, I think, they go, right, actually, I need some time to focus on my mental health, or actually this part of my role isn't working for me. I'm gonna, communicate that back and say that I need to adjust my work to suit. And I think that's amazing, because I would never have done that when I was younger, ever.
Not if I wanted a job.
No. And I think that the mindset is changing, and in that case, we definitely need to sort of get the older people, myself included in that, on board with that. We can learn a lot from them, because actually the fact that they're willing to have that work-life boundary is amazing, because I just would never.
My view on that, though, is that I think we were not mentally boundaried, but we were by the fact that we didn't have technology. So in that, when I leave work now, I'm still working until, whenever. Whereas when we left the office in the olden days, there wasn't a computer or a phone that had emails on it. So actually, maybe they have to be more boundaried, because it's with you all the time.
Yeah, the line's definitely blurred. I mean, I've got a phone with me. It's constantly, in the evening, Teams will be going off on it at Outlook. Having that physical separation of leaving, and I used to have to leave the office at 5 o'clock on the dot to be able to get my kids from childcare. So there was a complete separation between work life and home life. And my computer at the time was a PC, a desktop PC. So I shut it down the end there. I couldn't take it with me. I couldn't travel with it. I couldn't have it with me on my person all the time. That was quite nice, actually, in a way. I kind of missed that. It's obviously technology has opened up all these fantastic opportunities for us, but it does come with negatives and downsides to it, that I think we need to kind of adjust how we behave with the technology as well.
So talk about attracting younger people into the industry as well, and I suppose the better we get at not only doing that, but actually then when they are at work, working together across the different generations, then from a retention perspective as well, that's that helps too, doesn't it? So that people aren't then moving between companies in quite the same way.
Being poached usually. Jumping over to somebody else doing the same job. But I think that's a really key point, actually. We need to work on making sure that they're getting the support that they need to develop in the industry. And I think if you're developing people and you're giving them opportunities to grow, they're less likely to want to kind of move on to another role. And I think that's important as well. I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm bored at work. It doesn't suit me. Devil makes work for idle hands, as my nan used to say. I have to be busy. I don't like to be sitting around. If I'm not busy and I'm not learning something, then I kind of switch off, and that's it for me. I'm done. I need to find something new. That's I think we need to make sure that our younger people coming in and our mid-career movers are supported to learn and be developing all the time.
Paying forward those opportunities again, like you said before, the more that starts to happen, all of a sudden, the more we get people that are using transferable skills to come into the sector and so on, and actually then once one person's done that and they start moving through, actually they give the opportunity to someone else, and before we know it, that's you start to see how things evolve, what we might sort of say for the positive, I suppose.
Yeah, you got to lift as you climb. I think that's really important. My background is not the traditional background, I don't think, for many corporate people. Like I said, I was raised in South East London. My dad was a minicab driver, my mum worked at a shop, my family ran pubs. We weren't really, I was the first person in my family to go to uni, although admittedly I did drop out very quickly. But there wasn't really an expectation for a corporate career. That just wasn't a thing. I didn't know what that was. And I think actually for me, just making people aware of the opportunities that are out there and the difference you can make to your own life, but also to your kids' lives. My kids are living a life that I wouldn't have dreamt of. They've got all these opportunities, and that's just fantastic. And I think that's a testament to the opportunities that I've been given, is that they've now got those opportunities. So paying it forward, not just for my own family's benefit, but for other people's benefit as well, is massively important. And Sarah and I, we've discussed before about social mobility and the importance of that, and just recognizing that we have whole pools of talent that just aren't given the same opportunities and the same access to our networks and the same options when it comes to careers, and actually going out of our way to support those people and bring them in, and recognize that there's a lot of benefit to diversity in all of its forms. I think that would really benefit our industry as a whole. And actually it's been proven that more diverse teams are better commercially as well. They make more money. So if people need an incentive, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we need to, sorry, my mind's ticking now about something we can do around that in terms of that re-education piece upwards of those decision makers from a talent onboarding perspective. What are you most excited about for our industry when you're looking ahead to the next 5 years?
I just think it's growing massively. There's so much change. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the new emerging technologies that we've got, but also just what opportunities that opens up for people, and how we can, we know that we've got this, what they call the silver tsunami of all these people retiring. We've got a real opportunity to make a difference, and I think that's the bit that I'm most looking forward to, and most looking forward to being involved in. Obviously through the Forum for Women Data Centres, through the Leap, but just through my own personal interests. And I think it's going to be fantastic if we can harness it and do good with what we're doing. Even better.
Well, I think you're the best example of that, in that you are actually not just talking about it, you're making change, and through
hopefully
tangible action. You definitely are. And that's, whether that's been involved in, what I should have mentioned in the intro was that you're one of our founding mentors for Capstone mentored, and you're having an incredible contribution to your mentee, and I absolutely love that. But also through FWD and the Leap initiative and all of that sort of stuff. So and if we can support any of your initiatives in any way, we'd love to do that. Alex,
so volunteer role, but I'll be pinging you a list of requests.
do it. But listen, I rely on people volunteering, and I'm very, very happy to do the same for others. So please lean on Ollie and I. We'd love to support. Alex, thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for all the ideas that you're sparking in my mind in terms of actually what can we do that's more than we are doing already. So I'm really looking forward to carrying on with the mentoring program, and hopefully you can join us in September for the breakfast that we've got there. But in the meantime, thank you. But in the meantime, thank you so much.